Coming to you from an undisclosed location deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains, I'm your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. This is Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural. Just a quick little house cleaning note here. Acceleration Radio, out of all the internet shows in its time slot, is ranking number 4, KGRA. I'm on KGRA at the 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I am rated number 4. That is absolutely incredible. And I just want to thank all of you for tuning in to Acceleration Radio on KGRA on Tuesday. And also thank you for watching Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural Report. Please hit the subscribe button on the bottom there. We're up just about 81,000 subscribers, and of course that's incredible. Our goal is to get 100,000 before the end of the year, so we'll see what happens with that. Israel Defense Forces exchange artillery fire with Iranian troops, Syrian army, and this is from Reuters. And obviously what is going on there in the last 24, 48 hours is alarming. We're supposed to go to Israel towards the end of the month with about 22 people that have signed up, along with Bob Ulrich and Chrissy Ulrich, and our good friends, the Giant and the Wood Nymph, are supposed to be there with us too. And of course, Mondo Gonzalez, my good friend and the archaeologist on the DNA team. And Mondo's a pastor, and he's been to Israel at least 3 times, and he's led tours there. So we're anxious to go. On the other hand, if a full-scale war breaks out and the Tel Aviv airport is closed, we're not going anywhere. So what's interesting about this is we know that we have, and we talked about this on the Marsalis report just a few days ago, and that's on my YouTube channel too. Check that out. That's with Bill Salas and myself. And Billy and I were discussing the idea, the possibility of Ezekiel 38, which we think is later, but certainly the destruction of Damascus is right on the table. Jeremiah 49, where Iran seems to be taken out of the picture. It's very tumultuous and tenuous over there, and it certainly is not going away. So there are 3 different reports I went to. This is basically from Fox News. Devastating response: Israel levels Iranian targets in Syria in retaliation for Tehran's feeble first strike. So that's one take on it. And this is the opposite side of the coin. This is from Press TV, which of course is features the Arabs, and the Israelis are always the bad guys. Syrian army says destroyed most of Israeli rockets. So what is the truth? On one hand, we've got devastating response. Israel levels Iranian targets in Syria. On the other hand, we've got Syrian army destroyed most of Israeli rockets. So who's lying and who's telling the truth? I'm going to put my chips in with the Israelis. And what's amazing about this, Iran has 80,000 troops north of Damascus. They're not there for a picnic or a barbecue, trust me. And this is alarming to Israel because if you look at a map, it's right on Israel's doorstep. And Israel took over the Golan Heights, and of course that's disputed territory, but that's what happened. They attacked Israel. Israel took over the Golan Heights, and they could have rolled into Damascus then, and they didn't. They were restrained. So they've held on to the Golan Heights because strategically, without them, the north part of Israel is the Golan Heights are up here and Israel's down here. Strategically, whoever holds the Golan Heights would dominate that area of Israel. So what's really interesting is this is from RT. This is the Russian source and their take on it. Let's see what they have to say.
Israel has fired more rockets into the disputed Golan Heights, targeting Iranian outposts for a second night in a row. About 60 rockets were fired by reportedly 28 Israeli jets, as well as 10 further rockets from the ground. Tel Aviv claims it was responding to 20 rockets launched by Iran from Syrian territory into the Golan Heights. The first rocket attack by the Israelis was launched just shortly after Donald Trump announced his decision to withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal, which was reached back in 2015. In his latest statement, the US president blamed Iran for, quote, bedlam and death.
We'll see how we do with Iran. Probably we won't do very well with them, but that's okay too. They've got to understand life, because I don't think they do understand life. If you look at what's happening in the Middle East with Syria, with Yemen, with all of the places they're involved, it's bedlam and death, and we can't allow that to happen.
RT's Igor Zhdanov takes a closer look at the points emphasized by the U.S. president.
So the bottom line is this: the Iranians really have lost faith because of a couple of things. Netanyahu just last week rolled out the intel, basically stating that the Iranians have not held up their part of the deal as far as disarming their nuclear capabilities. In fact, they've just pushed ahead with it. And Trump is right. Everywhere the Iranians' fingerprints are, it's bedlam and death. And I certainly concur with that. It's interesting how Noam Chomsky recently was talking about the GOP and those Christians, all they want is World War III. Well, that's not really true, Noam. With all due respect, sure, you're a brilliant man. But certainly you can see that the Iranians have spread bedlam and death wherever they go. And the fingerprints of the Iranians are all over the Middle East. And this is what we get, the Shia Crescent, which goes from Syria, actually Lebanon, Syria, then down into the northern part of Iraq, and then into Iran, and then back over to Yemen. That is the Shia Crescent. And of course, the Iranians control that. The proxy army, the Houthis in Yemen, the proxy army of Iranians, Hezbollah in Lebanon. And look, the Lebanese or Hezbollah has not entered the fray yet. They've got 150,000 to 200,000 missiles, and many of them can reach all parts of Israel. And if the word is given, can you imagine 2,000 or 3,000 rockets a day pouring into Israel? There's no way Israel can stop that. Then can you imagine if Hezbollah and the 80,000 troops in Syria jointly attack the Golan? Now we're looking at boots on the ground. That's a major conflict. And if the Iranians push in from the east across Jordan, it could be very, very severe. And look, right now cool heads are prevailing. We'll see what the Iranians do. But as I said, they lost face on the world stage when Netanyahu basically showed that they're lying and they're deceiving not only America but the rest of the world. Their intentions are the destruction of America. We are the great Satan. And the destruction of Israel, which is the little Satan. So in my opinion, and I don't have a crystal ball here, and I'm certainly not a prophet, but what I think is going to happen is at some point they're going to go at it. And I think that point may be in the next few days. We will certainly know. The bottom line is now there's exchange of rocket fire. So Israel is also reporting that those 80,000 troops that are in Syria are starting to move. It'll be very interesting to see what happens in the coming days, but lines have been crossed already. And of course, again, Mr. Chomsky is claiming that the GOP, Christianity, trying to destroy the world. Well, that's interesting, Noam, because what I see is the jihad wherever I go. Wherever I turn, when we see jihad, when we see Islam entrenched with Sharia law, we see misery, we see death, we see killings, we see complete intolerance of the gay community, where at least Christians, I don't accept the gay community, but I understand that they're in bondage. And that's a loaded question, which is really, I should be following that with a 3-hour conversation, lest the LGBTQ ABC crew comes after me like they do with other people. But I'm pretty much of a nobody, low profile. We only have 80,000 subscribers. I'm not like Bill O'Reilly, who had 3 million plus when he was on the air. And when you get up to those numbers, then you become a real threat. Mr. Chomsky, the GOP and Christianity is not trying to destroy the world. In fact, the case can be made that the deep state in America is trying to destroy the world. And the deep state, excuse me, it's early in the morning here. The deep state, I believe, is tied into the whole Luciferian agenda. But again, that's another 3-hour conversation for another politics, prophecy, and the supernatural report, perhaps at a later date. Again, what we see is radical Islam. The jihadis are trying to destroy the world. Just look at all the jihadi terrorists happening in London. Look at the murder count right now in London. It's just through the roof. So I would take issue with that statement. But let's move on here. This is great. and you guys have heard me talk about Jingos. This stuff really works. That's my tagline. And this stuff really does work. www.buyjingos.com. Buyjingos.com. I love this. This is from Sport. And you can see Sport. He's a blind and deaf poodle, okay? Hi, LA. My name is Sport, and I'm a very old poodle. My master Paul bought a bottle of Jingos for me. You see, I'm blind and deaf, so I have a hard time figuring out where I'm at. When I think I'm inside, I take a nap outside on the grass. Other times I think I'm outside, but I'm really inside and do what I'm supposed to do outside inside, which makes a mess on the floor. Thanks to Jingos, my accident are quickly cleaned up with no lingering odors, and my master Paul is pleased with the result. Your furry fan Sport. Folks, I got to tell you, we use it all the time in the house when our dogs have an accident, stains on the carpet, all sorts of stuff. Jingos, this stuff really works. And guess what? You can now buy it in the gallon size right here. So when your little spritzer bottle goes empty, you just pour some from the gallon, and you save money. And it's just wonderful stuff. People are asking, oh, this Jingo stuff, does it, why are you doing Jingo stuff? And all the naysayers out there. Because you know why? Because YouTube demonetizes me. If I put something up on YouTube and I'll have Middle East crisis, boom, instantly demonetized. Sometimes when I just post Acceleration Radio, before the algorithms see Acceleration Radio, flag that, bam. In other words, any Christian thought, any conservative thought is usually struck down. And I'm not the only one this is happening to. So I've got two sponsors. One is Jingos, and I thank God for these guys because I don't have to depend on my monetization from YouTube.
By Jingos, it's amazingly fresh and clean out here in beautiful New Zealand. G'day America, I'm Tarby, and I want to tell you about my new ultimate stain and odour remover, Jingos. My Jingos gunk gobblers will tackle stubborn organic stains and eliminate nasty stinking odours at the same time. Jingos effectively removes those little accidents like wine, coffee, dirt, blood, grass, even pet stains, and odours like fish, garlic, even skunk. Jingos is environmentally friendly, safe for use on fabrics, carpet, upholstery, and it works great as a laundry pre-soak on the worst pet or people accidents. Come on America, what are you waiting for? Just go online and order your Jingos for $12.95 and get a 4-ounce travel pack free. Crikey, pay $19.95 and I'll double your order. That's 2 large Jingos and 2 travel packs for just $19.95. Blasted seagulls, where's my Jingos?
So we have another sponsor that's trying us out, and I'm gonna show you how really good these are. These are the free-dried strawberries from simplycleanfoods.net, and I'm just gonna eat one because if I start pigging out, then I won't be able to talk. These are really good. You can see. Well, I gotta have another one because they're highly addictive. Amazing. But bananas, strawberries, raspberries, broccoli, corn, peas, string beans, it's all there. And what's great about this, and it's a little pricey. I mean, I get it. You're gonna spend $1,000, but you could also send $20 in, Simply Clean Foods, and just try it for yourself. But if you go, all the way for $995, this is what it includes. Here are the details. You receive a total of 825 servings of raspberries, bananas, peaches, apples, strawberries, sweet corn, green peas, and broccoli. All GMO-free, one ingredient tested for heavy metals, 25-year lifespan. Look, folks, I got to tell you, think of last year with the devastating floods in Texas, right? Think of a possible earthquake in the Los Angeles area. Stuff happens. Fires, earthquakes, all sorts of weird stuff can happen. So when we get stocked up with this kind of stuff and you put it in a high, dry place, you're not depending on FEMA to come in with a cupcake and an ice cream cone or a cup of coffee. It's just unbelievable. So you want to go to www.simplycleanfoods.net, spend $20, get one package of strawberries. They are tasty, and check that out today. And I want to thank these guys for, Mr. Wrinkles is here. Mr. Wrinkles, you want to be on camera? There he goes. He's a wrinkly sort of a fellow. All right, let's get into an email. LA, I love all that you've done in research, Nephilim Skulls. I read all your books. The Cosmic Chess Match changed my life, and I thank you for that. That's Jim. That's really cool when I hear something like that. Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural was an awesome book. You had a major setback with the fairy phenomenon. I appreciate that you publicly denounced the fake fairy. Look, we get kudos for that. That's what research is about. We went out, we looked at the thing. I bought the x-rays to a I was going to say archaeologist, but that's not the right word, to a veterinarian early in the morning here, to a vet. And the vet looked at the x-rays, and based on the x-rays, he said, okay, we're going to go with it. It looks real. It looked real to him. So with that in mind, we went with it. And it was in Watchers, I think, 9. And once we got the fairy from Jaime Maussan, we got it out of Mexico and we could examine it. Then we realized it was a fake. And the moment we realized it, we made a video called Anatomy of a Hoax. We took the thing up to Santa Barbara Natural History Museum and had a guy dissect it for us and show us how it was cobbled together. Whoever did it was a master taxidermist and spent a lot of time creating this hoax. And frankly, Jaime got taken in. We all got taken in. 3 veterinarians got taken in. 3 vets got taken in. All right? The people down in Jaime's neck of the woods, down in Mexico City, they got taken in. Everyone was taken in until we got it, and then we proved it was a hoax. And you can watch that on Vimeo, Anatomy of a Hoax, for free. So, but thank you, Jim, and I just digressed a little bit. I appreciate that you publicly denounced the fake fairy. I am right on board with you about the UFO disclosure and your theory of the fallen ones bringing in the golden age. I believe all of the fringe topics. I just fail to see and are completely uninterested in the Fatima Project. I get that the fallen angels can deceive people with signs in the sky. I am not trying to be negative Nancy here when it comes to Fatima. I'm sure the people saw some weird stuff happen. What does Fatima and what happened 100 years ago have to do with today? Yes, we are seeing interdimensional UFO deception. With all due respect, can you clear this up for me? I love you, LA. Don't think of this as a bashing email, Jim. I love this email. It's fantastic. And that's why it's up here on PPS Report, and I'm going to address it. This is what we need to understand and get our heads around. The events at Fatima set a precedent which has continued into modernity. And this is one of the shots you can see here that was taken by Joshua Benolio on the moors of Fatima, October 13th, 1917. What I mean by that is that people accepted this entity as being Mary of the Bible. That's the first thing. We never addressed that. People have the right to believe what they want to believe. And I'm not going to disparage their belief system. If people want to think that the entity that appears to Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta was Mary of the Bible, more power to you. Our research and the work of Fina de Armada, Joaquim Fernandez, and a host of others that we actually interview on the film, in the film, Fatima 1 and Fatima 2, state that that lady that appeared to the children never said she was Mary. She just said she was from the sky. That's the first thing. The second thing, she communicated with the children voice to skull. Her mouth never moved. So we've got some really weird stuff that happened in Fatima. But the people accepted this. They accepted the miracle, the so-called miracle of the sun, where the sun was spinning and pulsing in the sky. Oh, it's a sign from God. Not so fast, citizen. And that's what we get into. We are told that the dragon, right? The dragon will come with all signs and lying wonders. And as we are moving into the last days, what we see in modernity is that sun miracles are happening. This was taken in Massachusetts 2 or 3 weeks ago. People can be so easily deceived. Just because the sun is moving, we don't know the powers that behind that. The sun isn't moving anywhere, but they're making the sun seemingly spin or pulse, right? Get this, right here, right here. Farther below, I copied a paragraph from a website. This is from Ben. Interesting that Portugal had a long history of these legendary beings who guarded portals to other dimensions, spin the rays of the sun, and in many accounts had golden hair. Also, some legends say they are shapeshifters. that turn into snake beings. This is why there are serpent cults all over Portugal in ancient times. And what's interesting is when we talk about this in the film, some of these serpent cults are still active today in the northern part of Portugal. Okay, this is it. Portugal has a similar tradition which describes a race of supernatural women called the Mora Encantada, who were said to be the guardians of doorways into other dimensions, as well as into the earth itself. These women were also said to be able to spin the sun, which connects intimately to the final apparition at Fatima, where thousands of witnesses watched a glowing oval of light spin through the sky. We have, and we talk about this in both films, people looked up and saw a dull silver disc. Something is going on at Fatima, and in my opinion, it is not what we think it is. And this is a clip from Fatima 2. And when I show this clip at conferences, and I've shown it at every conference I've been at this year, people, and because I'm up here looking down at the audience, looking out at the audience, I should say, and they're unnerved by it. People are unnerved by it. I had no idea this was going on right now. It's happening in modernity. And that's why we made the films, Fatima 1 and Fatima 2, because it's a harbinger of deception, which is revealing the strange phenomena that is occurring right now in modern day. Check this out.
What happened at Fatima is now in the far distant past. Over 100 years ago, events occurred which are still the subject of debate today. However, there have been numerous apparition sites since 1917. This segment will explore more of the strange phenomena that is occurring in modernity. We will present real footage of so-called apparitions and ask you to determine what it is you are looking at. Can we really ascertain what these indistinct images of light are? You be the judge.
You'll notice the utter hysteria. No one's rebuking first and asking questions later. No one's testing the spirits. They're just accepting, oh, this has to be from God. Not so fast, citizen. How do we know? And conversely, in evangelical circles, gold dust, gems falling from the sky or the ceiling on the floor, Bibles that leak oil, how do we know that's from God? Just because we see something supernatural doesn't mean anything, in my opinion. I mean, we need to test the spirits. We're told to test the spirits. Rebuke first, ask questions later. No one's doing that in knock. Again, notice the hysteria, the absolute pandemonium of the people. I mean, there's something supernatural that's going on, and you won't see this on CNN. There was a woman that was at Conyers, Georgia, and we show this in the film just in a couple of seconds, so I'm just going to give you a heads up. She was there with her fiance. They're standing right next to each other, okay? She looks up in the sky, and she sees what appears to be a religious figure. He looks up, and they're like a foot apart, right? I mean, they're like right next to each other, all right? They look up, their heads are a foot apart. He looks up, and he sees a UFO. How's that possible? She sees a religious figure, he sees a UFO. Conyers, Georgia, right here. And notice something here. These are just amorphous blobs of light. Okay, this is supposed to be Mary because it's got a blue, like a blue veil. That's supposed to be the baby Jesus. Hello? Maybe Joseph and the angel, but what they are just four images, four amorphous blobs of light. I don't know what I'm looking at here. And no one gathered there is rebuking anything. They're celebrating. You can hear the people. Listen to the people. Oh, let me go back here. Well, no, I don't want to run that again. But the bottom line is this, folks, that people are celebrating it. People are embracing the phenomenon as they're looking at it. And we are told, again, it's a warning. And as a watchman, this is what I do. Something is going on, and it's continued. The precedent that was set at Fatima, where people accepted this, has continued right into modernity. And now we are in a window of time where just 2 or 3 weeks ago in Massachusetts, a busload of people witnessed a so-called sun miracle, and they immediately accepted it as being something benevolent. Not so fast, citizen. One more thing, I had a UFO dream, and I was with someone like Donald Trump, but it wasn't Donald Trump. He has his arm around me, and we're looking out, and he goes, "There it is, LA. That's the future, and it's good." And he was pointing to a very large UFO which is hovering over the city. And I looked at him and I said, "No, it's not. It's not good." So we are told in the latter days, deception. That's the hallmark, the calling card of the latter days. And I think we're in a window of time where we're seeing deception manifest in ways that I've never seen it. UFOs are at an all-time high. Sun miracles continue. The two are linked inexorably together, in my opinion. So we've got a special. It's a limited time offer. You get Fatima 1, Miracle of the Sun. You get Fatima 2, Strange Phenomena. You get the book by Jose Machado, Miracle of the Sun. It is absolutely incredible. Jose, we published this book. Jose Machado is a professor of semiotics, and basically what he teaches is the study of photography and film. And he got into the sanctuary and was able to handle the original glass plates taken in 1917 by photographer Joshua Benolio. So he's handling the glass plates, and he has 4 of those plates which show a round object. And we present one of those photos, which is this one right here. We use the same photo in the Fatima 2 cover, and also and obviously in Jose's book. And there was a round object directly over the apparition site. Here's where the children are. Here's where the entity is appearing of the children. Directly over it is a dull silver disc. Witness after witness after witness saw a dull silver disc. This is why Fatima is so important, because it sets a precedent that happened 100 years ago, and people have accepted it. And now it's just the norm. Oh, the miracle of the sun. Oh yeah, we see sun miracles in Medjugorje all the time. No one tests the spirits. They just accept it. And this is, in my opinion, what is dangerous. Anyway, that's all the time we have for. Please keep Israel in your prayers. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We are admonished to do that in Scripture. And remember, I'll see you on the air or in the air. Thanks for watching.
What if what happened in Fatima 101 years ago was much more complex than any of us could have imagined? What if there was a fourth witness hidden away for decades, and through the detective work of researcher Fina Di Armata, this witness was discovered and interviewed? In that interview, the fourth witness described seeing a being with blonde hair floating in midair above the same tree that the apparition would later appear over. What if the so-called angel hair that fell over the crowd is also reported by witnesses who have had close encounters with UFOs today? Then there is the dull silver disc, which flew over the 80,000 people gathered at Fatima, which seemed to create chaos as car windshields exploded, hoods flew open, and gasoline spontaneously combusted. What if there was a picture taken 101 years ago that lay undiscovered in the Fatima archives until one man, Jose Machado, had access to it? What he found may be a smoking gun. Then there are the numerous reports of apparitions and so-called sun miracles. But what are these really? Could they be harbingers of deception? This is Fatima 2, Strange Phenomenon.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains, I'm your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. This is Acceleration Radio, right here on KGRA. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. You're listening to Acceleration Radio right here on KGRA. Great to be here on Tuesday night. Next Tuesday, Chase Klotsky will be here. And, of course, she's a regular on KGRA. And we're going to be talking about her participation in the new film, Fatima 2. I really used Chase as a UFO investigator, almost like as an expert witness. And we cut to her all throughout the film. So that's just a little teaser for what's happening next week. But a little announcement here. Right here is KGRA. Right here, KGRA, number 4, 1, 2, 3, number 4 last week. And I'm really proud of that, folks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for those of you who are tuning in on the net. We beat out all these other people. I mean, Sean Hannity. Go figure, right? Sean's huge. I get that. But the amount of people that are listening to Sean are mostly on TV. This is all internet stuff right here behind me. And I'm just tickled pink, well, whatever, to be, sorry. I'm just really happy to be in the number 4 slot here. So I thank you all for listening, and thank you for tuning in, and thank you for supporting what we do here on Acceleration Radio. Look, a lot is going on the planet right now. In fact, my producer Bill and I were just talking about it off air before I went on. So much is going on. So much is going on. And I might even going to deal with Hawaii and the volcanic eruptions, the earthquakes which are ongoing. There's a spike in earthquake activity, a spike of volcanic activity. If you want to see more about this, we discuss it all in great lengths. In Days of Chaos, my book, and Watchers 9, you can get up to speed. But earthquakes are like this. It's ramping up. Volcanic activity ramping up. And now we see that the Ring of Fire, of course, is very active. And who knows what this thing is really going to do in Hawaii. And, hopefully it'll quiet down and we'll be done. But in the meantime, homes are being burned, roads are being closed, and from what I understand, this sulfur dioxide is being leaked into the air from the fissures and the cracks, highly poisonous gas. So it's a very tenuous situation that's happening over there. But what I'm really interested in, and we're going to drill down on this in the first half of the show, is this. Donald Trump basically nuked the Iran deal. Now, for those of you who aren't up to speed with this, Obama made this deal, really bad deal, by the way, with the Iranians when he was president. And they flew in with cargo planes, apparently, billions of dollars of cash, right, on pallets. That was part of the deal. Basically, it's bribery. They're saying, well, we'll give you all this money, we'll lift the sanctions, and we'll make all this, we'll really make nice, can't we all get along, blah, 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 blah. We'll make it all work. And, just be nice with us and just play nice with us, and we'll play nice with you. Leading from behind. So Obama's leading from behind, really far behind. And what's amazing about this is last week, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu released at this incredible press conference the bald-faced lie that the Iranians have been involved in. In other words, the Iranians have been saying, oh, we stopped our nuclear program, we're not going to do this anymore today, everything's fine, come on over. No, they're not. They haven't stopped doodly squat. They haven't stopped doodly. This is the problem. So not only, on the entire world stage, think about this, the entire world stage, Iran is being shown as a bunch of liars. I mean, how can they go to the UN and say anything at this point? They lie. They lied. They reneged. We gave them billions of dollars, and guess what? Some of that was my money, and some of it was your money, taxpayer dollars. And Obama just flies it in, leading from behind, and he drops it there, and everybody says, "Oh, this is great diplomacy. You know, Obama should get another Nobel Peace Prize." Yada yada yada. And what really happens? Nothing changes. We give the billions of dollars, and the Iranians just continue with their nuclear program. So this is huge. Huge. And speaking of huge, right behind me, our president, who is not leading from behind and is basically a trend center. It just amazes me. I can go off on a rabbit trail here. It's just the mainstream media, no matter what this guy does, they're against his wife, they're against him, they're never Trumpers, leave the country. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my almost 68 years. Never have I seen the media go after anybody like they do Donald Trump. And this whole thing with Mueller's investigation, I mean, it's a nothing burger and it really should go away. Mueller is just, in my opinion, and this is what's chilling about it. God forbid he go after anybody that we know or any of you listening to this thing, because he'll get you on something, guaranteed. He'll get you on something, and that's what So the whole Russian collusion thing, that's what the investigation was about. So now we've moved away from that. And now we're checking out Trump's best friend over here. Or what about this guy? What's under this carpet here? Got to be something gonna get him. Ha 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 ha. All Mueller cares about is impeaching Trump, getting Trump impeached, finding something on him. Meanwhile, these same yahoos in the mainstream media, Melania, who in my opinion is one of the most elegant, if not the most elegant first lady in our history, and she speaks 5 languages, and people just pick at her and just try to tear her down. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Mean-spiritedness. So Trump, getting back on track here, Trump looks at this. I got to keep track of my time. And actually, Producer Bill, I know he can hear me. Producer Bill, give me like a 2-minute warning or a 3-minute warning so I can, do it that way. And it's okay if you come in. It's always good to hear the producer's voice. It's so reassuring. So Trump basically walked away from the nuke deal with Iran. And I say bully for the Donald. Bully for the Donald. It's about time somebody stood up and said, you know what? These guys are a bunch of liars. And it's been proven that Yahoo had all the evidence, a plethora, a cornucopia of evidence was thrown at for anybody who wanted to look at it last week. So the Iranians are bald-faced liars. Not the people in Iran, but the mullahs who control the country. And make no mistake about it, the mullahs have an apocalyptic mindset, and that's where we're going to get into. So Trump nukes the nuke deal, essentially, and of course Rouhani's saying, well, there's going to be very bad consequences here. Well, what are you guys going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? So what I find really interesting, and this is where it starts to get complicated. Israel's 70th birthday is just in a few days here, all right? Just in a few days. Israel's 70th birthday. Plus, they're bringing our embassy to Jerusalem. That's huge. That's huge because every other president that said they were going to do that, going back to Bush the senior, to Obama, oh, we're gonna move our embassy to Jerusalem. No, you're not. No one's done anything. Trump did. And they're moving it right into Jerusalem because Jerusalem is the eternal capital of Israel. And for all you anti-Semites that say, these aren't the real Jews, LA, they're not the real Jews, they're imposters. Okay, let's run with this for a second. If they're not the real Jews, we'll move them all out of Israel and then we'll go find the real ones. They got to be hiding somewhere here. Not under there. I mean, it's an absurd statement, and people don't know their history because the Jews, after AD 70, after the diaspora, when the Romans came in and slaughtered upwards of 1 million and took the rest of them captive, there has always been a continual Jewish presence all throughout the Middle East for the last 2,000 years. And when Israel became a nation, a lot of Jews from what is now Iran and Iraq and Syria and Lebanon all went into Israel. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Hitler had no problem figuring out who the real Jews were. And by the way, the 6 million count is probably too conservative. It's probably a lot more than that. And by the way, there's a reason for this. There's a reason for this, and I'll tell you what the reason is. Messiah came from the tribe of Judah. Messiah, Jesus, was a Jew. I can't say it any plainer than that. From the tribe of Judah. And that's the game changer. And that's why the fallen cherub, the dragon, hates the Jews and has gone after them. And I wrote about all this in the Cosmic Chess Match. We don't have time to get into it because I want to get into what's really happening in the Middle East here. So it is Israel's 70th birthday. And folks, you got to understand, this is the fulfillment of prophecy in our lifetime. I remember, I'll never forget it. I was like 16 years old when the Six-Day War happened. And I went down to get the paper and I opened it up and there it was, the headlines, Israel retakes, or Israel takes Jerusalem. And I got chills, but I didn't know why. I didn't care about Israel. I mean, I was 16 years old. I mean, it meant nothing to me. Now, the focus of what I do basically is on the biblical prophetic narrative. And what I find so absolutely incredible about this is there are biblical prophecies written thousands of years ago by different authors talking about the gathering of Israel from the four corners of the earth and bringing these people back into its ancient homeland where the cities would be rebuilt. And this is the 3-hour conversation. Books have been written about this. This is the hand of God, the real one, by the way. Because this prophecy is written thousands of years ago, and it's written with great specificity. It's written in great detail. And yet what we see is in modernity, on the pains and the ashes of the Holocaust, on the ashes of the Holocaust, we see the ingathering of Israel, of the Jews, and forming their nation. And get this, you got to understand this, that Hitler's goal was to wipe out every Jew on the planet, knowing full well that if he did that, the prophecies, the biblical prophecies would never come to pass. God's a liar. Follow the God of this world, which is Satan, the dragon. And that's what's at stake. That's what's really going on. All this and more in my book, The Cosmic Chess Match. The only reason why I'm saying that, I'm pointing to you to, I think it's close to 350 pages, whatever. There's a lot of information in that book, and everything I just said is in that book. But I'm relating it now because I think it's extremely relevant to what's happening. So, who wants war in the Middle East? 7 key players and their interest. This was written back in 2017. So this is almost 6 months old now in November. So just today, and this is May 8th, 2018, Syria blames Israel for strike near Damascus. The target of the Israelis was an Iranian missiles aimed at Israel. They are playing hardball. So let's walk through this thing. This is the second attack by Israel. The second attack in less than 2 weeks. The second attack by Israel. One was, I think, last Monday, and a week ago yesterday, and now this one. Israel is not messing around at this point. They're not. And remember, there was a preemptive strike on Iran on their nuclear program under Menachem Begin. That's how they dealt with it. So this is, Israel's going after what's happening in Syria. There's 80,000 troops. Let's move on to the next slide. There are 80,000 troops embedded in Syria right now. And what's interesting is, and you can see this is the Jeremiah 49 prophecy. This is Elam, which is now, of course, part of Iran. And as you can see here, that there's the Bashar nuclear reactor. And Israel knows, and make no mistake about this, they're not idiots. The Iranians have continued to produce nuclear fuel for nuclear weapons. And when they think they can do it, they will nuke Tel Aviv. So I think, and I'm not a prophet here, and I'm certainly not prophesying, but Israel's already hit two attacks in the last 8-9 days. One recently today. The entire Middle East is on red alert. I know on the Drudge Report it talked about people in the Golan Heights now. Bomb shelters, they're on red alert. So there's 80,000 troops in the area. And this is what's interesting. Here we've got Lebanon, we've got Hezbollah, all right? And in Hezbollah, we've got, and they are a proxy army of Iran, which is over here now, right? So here's Iraq, and Iran is off the screen. So this is the Psalm 83 Confederacy. This is my good friend Bill Salas gave me this slide to use. So here we've got Hezbollah in the north of Israel with upwards of 200,000 missiles. Israel has the Iron Dome. It can protect itself, but to a point. If Hezbollah starts launching thousands of rockets, Israel can't get them all. So we are looking at a very charged electric atmosphere. You've got Damascus in Syria, okay? The capital of Syria is Damascus. That's where Bashar al-Assad, the president who's been fighting this ridiculous bloodthirsty war, bloody war for what, 6 years now? And the death count is probably upwards of over 500,000 people. I'm just guessing from my last time I checked, but it's way up there. And the body count just continues. And because of this war, this is what pushed all those refugees into Europe. They're fleeing Syria and the war-torn area. So you've got Hamas, which just last weekend, burning tires, sending kites. Let me get some more to here. Sending kites with bombs attached to the kites. I mean, are you kidding me? It's just absolutely unbelievable. So remember, Israel gave land for peace, supposedly, when they gave back the Gaza Strip. What do we see? We see Israel giving up land. Do we see any peace? No. Last weekend, they're flying kites that go over the border with bombs attached, fire bombs attached. I mean, this is the mindset. This is the mindset. We do the Oslo Accords. We give you the land. All we want is peace. We just want to dwell in safety in our borders. No, you can't have that. Because we're going to make kites, okay? We're going to figure out a way to put incendiary devices on the kites and fly the kites over, let them go, and create havoc. This is what Israel's up against. So we've got Jordan, which still has a peace treaty with Israel. But with what's going on here, the Jordanians are Sunni for the most part, and Sunni Muslims, and the Iranians are Shia. So we've got this hotbed of activity. And what you've got to understand, what we need to grasp this and understand this, that there's an apocalyptic mindset in Iran. An apocalyptic mindset. They believe, this is their ideology, this is what they believe, this is in their mindset, this is their worldview, it's in their Quran, this is what they believe, okay? That the Mahdi can only come in times of great chaos. So they want the chaos. They want the war. They want this thing to go all the way. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. And I'm going to play this because this is the area around Damascus. This is the suburbs of Damascus. So this is the suburbs around Damascus, because as you can see, it's rubble. And it's bombed out building after bombed out building after bombed out building. This is what, when Isaiah 17, which talks about the destruction of Damascus, this is what we're going to be looking at. And it happens suddenly. And I got to tell you, folks, that's Isaiah 17. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Isaiah was a prophet that lived thousands of years ago. 17 is just a chapter. It's like if I said, yeah, turn to Moby Dick and go to chapter 22. And this is what you would do. You go to chapter 22. Well, Isaiah 17 talks about the destruction of Damascus. Damascus is the oldest inhabited city on the planet, to the best of my knowledge. It's never been completely destroyed. So here we have the suburbs around Damascus, and as we can see what's happening, and this film is old. This film is at least a year and a half, probably closer to 2 years, and it's been reduced to rubble. And of course, this is where the refugees are coming from. The refugees have fled the area around Damascus and gone into Europe. So it's mind-boggling where we are. And you won't see this on the 6 o'clock news, but you'll see it here on Acceleration Radio. And by the way, there's no way I can monetize any of this, which is why we have two sponsors. And I'll be getting into my new sponsor here at the other side of the break, but I digress. Look at the footage. Look at what's going on here. And this is ongoing. And we're not seeing half of what's going on over there. Iran has 80,000 soldiers embedded north of Damascus. And I got to tell you, folks, they're not there for a barbecue. They're not there for a little picnic. They're there for one reason only, to prop up Assad and then go and retake the Golan Heights. That's what they want to do. Let me just escape out of here. Okay, 6:20. Let me go back into play. I should have bought my iPhone here, and I'll get that on the other side of the break. So, again, I'm not a prophet, but I got to tell you, I think we're on the cusp of something. I really do. I think that war is imminent in the Middle East. It's already, look, Iran has been shamed in front of the entire world community by Netanyahu, by Israel, its arch enemy. Now, if somebody else had done it, maybe they would have, not so bad. But the fact that Israel got this information from the Mossad, and then Netanyahu showed it and revealed it, and now the world knows that the Iranians lied. Now what? They've just lost face on the world stage. And Israel has done preemptive attacks, 2 of them within 9 days in Syria. So is Iran just going to sit and do nothing? No. And this is why I truly believe we are looking at World War III, or at least a major skirmish between the players, Hezbollah, Iran, the Houthis in Yemen, and possibly Hamas will join the fray. That's pretty much everyone surrounding Israel. Now, the Houthis are way down in Yemen. But here's something we didn't talk about, and I need to just briefly touch on this, that the Iranians control the Strait of Hormuz. It's a very narrow waterway. And within that strait comes about 35% of the world's oil. And the Houthis, which are Iran's proxy, control the Gate of Tears, another waterway. What if the Iranians take a dirty bomb and detonate it on a bunch of ships, make a blockade of ships, detonate the dirty bomb? Now you've got a radioactive area. They choke off the Strait of Hormuz. Oil prices, gas prices go through the roof, and I think America might enter the fray at that point. But this is what we're looking at. It's tenuous, it's tumultuous, and right now certainly unprecedented. So last night I have a dream, and in that dream, I'm with someone like Donald Trump, and it wasn't Donald Trump. And he's got his arm around me, and he's pointing to the distance of his huge mothership, and he goes, "LA, they're here, and it's a really good thing." And the reason why I say that, and I'm going to get into this on the other side of the break, there are millions and millions of people who are ready to embrace the so-called extraterrestrial. And this, of course, is the coming great deception, and I will get into that right on the other side of the break. But before I do,
Chronicles, baby.
okay, let's talk about Jingos, and you all know where I'm going with this. Look, this stuff works, okay? Jingos works. Buy it. When you buy this, not only are you helping yourself to keep those odorous, odors, that's bad English, those odorous odors out of the room, and but you're helping us. But I digress. Let's read this. Hey, LA, my name is Sport, and I'm a very old poodle. My master Paul bought a bottle of Jingos for me. You see, I'm blind and deaf, so I have a hard time figuring out where I'm at. When I think I'm inside, I take a nap outside on the grass. Other times I think I'm outside, but I'm really inside and do what I'm supposed to do outside, inside, which makes a mess on the floor. Thanks to Jingos, my accidents are quickly cleaned up with no lingering odors, and my master Paul is pleased with the results. Your furry fan, Sport. Folks, you can now buy Jingos in the gallon size. All I can tell you, we use it all the time. My dog, my little scooter dog, my little corgi, went number 2 in one of our rooms. And we were out, we came back in, saw the evidence of that, cleaned up the mess, got the Jingos, sprayed it in the room, sprayed it on the spots. Voila. No stain, no smell. This stuff really works. You're going to want some Jingos, guaranteed. So go to www.buyjingos.com, buyjingos.com. Order some today. I promise you, you will be delighted. Thanks for listening to Acceleration Radio. A very somber note tonight and sobering note, because I think we are on the cusp of something that's going to escalate. And I think it's going to escalate very quickly. Hopefully, cool heads will prevail. But the fact that Israel, to recap, the fact that Israel has conducted 2 preemptive strikes in the last 9 days is a huge signal to me. And we'll see what the Iranian response will be. Thanks for listening to Acceleration Radio. Keep it right here. I'll see you on the other side of the break.
By Jingos, it's amazingly fresh and clean out here in beautiful New Zealand. G'day America, I'm Tarby, and I want to tell you about my new ultimate stain and odour remover, Jingos. My Jingos gunk gobblers will tackle stubborn organic stains and eliminate nasty stinking odours at the same time. Jingos effectively removes those little accidents like wine, coffee, dirt, blood, grass, even pet stains, and odours like fish, garlic, even skunk. Jingos is environmentally friendly, safe for use on fabrics, carpet, upholstery, and it works great as a laundry pre-soak on the worst pet or people accidents. Come on America, what are you waiting for? Just go online and order your Jingos for $12.95 and get a 4-ounce travel pack free. Crikey, pay $19.95 and I'll double your order. That's 2 large Jingos and 2 travel packs for just $19.95. Blasted seagulls, where's my Jingos?
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. You're probably asking yourself, what the heck is that on the screen behind L.A.? Well, I'm glad you asked. And you know, some of you YouTubers right now are probably watching this. This is a freeze-dried strawberry. And I'm eating it on camera because it's really good. In fact, I just may have to stop here and shamelessly plug this stuff. SimplyCleanFoods.net, and a variety of freeze-dried food. And what's great about this, these things, see, now I'm chewing my mouth full. I could keep eating, but I'll have a modicum of manners. Thank you very much. Things happen, folks. Things happen. Floods, famines, food supply can go south. Volcano eruptions, earthquakes. Think about the people in Houston. So the deal is this. And Simply Clean Foods, first of all, there's no GMOs, there's no insecticide, nothing like that. 20-year lifespan on the food. I have sampled it. And again, I don't bring anything into Acceleration Radio unless I sample it and I approve it and I like it and believe in it. So here's the deal. And it sounds pricey, but get this. You will receive, for $995, 825 servings of raspberries, bananas, peaches, apples, strawberries, sweet corn, green peas, and broccoli. All GMO-free, one ingredient, tested for heavy metals, 25-year shelf life. Why should you do this? Why should you do this? I'll tell you right now, it'll be the best $1,000 you ever spend. Why? Because you have peace of mind. You put it someplace high and dry, something happens, you got a fallback position. You got a fallback position. You tear open this, you add water, you add whipped cream, you can do whatever you want to do. You can rehydrate the stuff. It's amazing. And you know, the cookbooks and lots of tips. So if you order now, you're saving $500. And I realize it's kind of pricey, but you're getting 825 servings. 825 servings. That's a lot of food, folks. That's a lot of food. And it'll keep you and your loved ones. If you need, God forbid, we should have that. But what if a dirty nuke happens in this country? What if an EMP happens in this country? And that's my greatest fear. That we have an electromagnetic pulse weapon, the cars don't work, nothing works, right? The radio doesn't work, the TV doesn't work. No more Acceleration Radio. We're back, pre-industrial revolution. If you're stocked up with this kind of item, simplycleanfoods.com, then guess what? You're safe. Because the lights can go out, but you've got food. So anyway, folks, support what we do here, but more importantly, feed your family and have a backup plan. www.simplycleanfoods.net, simplycleanfoods.net. Okay, back to the show. Email, LA. I love all that you've done in research. Nephilim Skulls. I've read all your books. The Cosmic Chess Match changed my life. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural was an awesome book. You had a major setback with the fairy phenomenon. I appreciate that you publicly denounced the fake fairy. Thank you. We should get kudos instead of anonymous people writing hit pieces on us. But I digress. I am right on board with you about the UFO disclosure and the theory of the fallen ones bringing in the golden age. I believe all of the fringe topics. I just fail to see and are completely uninterested in the Fatima Project. I get that the fallen can deceive people with signs in the sky. I'm not trying to be negative Nancy when it comes to Fatima. I'm sure the people saw some weird stuff happening. Why does Fatima and what happened 100 years ago have to do with today? Yes, we are seeing interdimensional UFO deception. With all due respect, can you clear this up for me? I love you, LA. Don't think this is a bashing email. No, I love this email. And when someone writes something like this, obviously there's a spirit of love there and brotherhood. I mean, you can see it. And it's like, you know, I'd love to take this guy out for dinner. And if he comes to a conference, Jim, I will take you out for dinner. How does that sound? And we can have a chat. But when I got that, I got strawberries. Hold on. When I got that email, I responded to it on the blog. And I'm going to read that to you now because it's important. What happened in Fatima 100 years ago has everything to do with what I call the coming great deception. But take note, the deception is already here. And I'm going to show you a clip that happened in Massachusetts, right? Another sun miracle 2 weeks ago. Right here in good old United States, we're getting stuff happen. But I digress. Let's finish this little blog post. Please take a look at this recent so-called sun miracle, and I'll get to that, in the above video as it illustrates my point exactly. The people on the bus are embracing the pulsing sun. They are actually saying thank you. Why? Because they have been told by their leaders, here it comes, wait for it, that what happened in Fatima 101 years ago, this October, was from God and that it was a miracle. That's the party line. That's what people embrace. That's what people think happened at Fatima. That's why Fatima 1 and Fatima 2, our two films, are so groundbreaking. And we're not attacking anyone's belief system. We're just saying, hey, wait a minute. You know, we have two different Fatimas. We have the 1917 handwritten documents from the sanctuary that tell a completely different story than what most people know about today. Okay? What if what happened on the moors of Fatima was, as I have come to call it, a harbinger of deception? People in the field reported seeing a dull silver disc. But these testimonies, for the most part, along with the others we show in the film Fatima 2, have been ignored or perhaps deliberately covered up or obfuscated. Let me say that again. Have been ignored or deliberately covered up and obfuscated. So now we have an event, i.e. Fatima 101. Let me start that again, folks. Ready? 3, 2, 1. So now we have an event, i.e. Fatima 101 years ago, which we show in our film, which had nothing to do with the sun leaving its place in the solar system and coming to Earth. Now fast forward to the present day with the people on the bus. They have gulped down the Kool-Aid. They've just tilted that glass all the way back and just down the neck it went. They've heard about what happened in Fatima all of their lives, and so now when it happens to them and they experience it, they embrace it. This is why the title rings so true to me. Miracle of a sun or a harbinger of deception. No one, but no one on the bus is challenging what they are seeing. No one is rebuking first and asking questions later. No one is testing the spirits, and as we are admonished to do so. Just because there is a pulsing sun doesn't mean it's a sign from God. As we are told that in the last days, Satan, the dragon, will come with all signs and lying wonders. This is why the Fatima films are so relevant and timely. It's happening now, and people are being deceived. To sum it up, this is why what happened in Fatima is so relevant for today. Jesus warns us that deception would be paramount in the last days. Judge for yourself. if we are in that window of time. You know what I need? I need a teleprompter so I don't have to keep doing this, and that's why I keep stumbling. Excuses. A lot of excuses tonight, LA. I don't know what maybe it's the strawberries that you ate. You know, you're eating the strawberries, and the next thing I know, you're having trouble reading. You never did that before, LA. Maybe there's no GMO stuff in there. Ruff. Okay. This is the film that's on YouTube, which we'll watch. These people are on a bus, and they're watching the sun pulse. Ready? Here we go. So look, I am a frank supernaturalist, as many of you know, and no one is rebuking, no one is testing the spirits. They just think, well, it's a pulsing sun, it has to be from God. No one knows that. Nobody knows that. Can God do something like that? God can do anything. I get it. But we are warned. We are warned specifically that the dragon will come with all signs and lying wonders in the last days. You start putting things together, folks, and, you know, just because the sun is doing something like that means nothing to me. It really doesn't. It's a parlor trick, just like gold dust or gems appearing or Bibles that leak oil. You know, it's just like, okay, what does that have to do? What does that do? It appeals to my flesh. That's all. When I've seen the Spirit of a living God actually move in places, and I've seen it, I've experienced it. When it rolled off the stage, I was leading worship. And it rolled off the stage, literally. And people dropped to their knees and began to weep because they realized the burden of things that they had done in their life, the nasty little things that we all hold on to, that we keep hidden from other people, the sin, as it's called. And, you know, for some of you, LA's getting religious now. Turn that off, will you, Edith? So the bottom line, where did that come from? The bottom line is this, that I've experienced the Spirit of a living God move in a variety of different ways. But when he really shows up, there's an attitude of repentance because we are standing in the midst of a holy God. So all this other stuff needs to be tested, in my humble opinion. This is really interesting. This came in from Ben today. Further below, I copied a paragraph from a website. Interesting that Portugal had a long history of these legendary beings who guarded portals to other dimensions. They spun the rays of the sun and in many accounts had golden hair. Also, some legends say that they were shapeshifters and turned into snake beings. We covered this. We covered this whole thing in Fatima 2 with the serpent cults. Entities are very territorial. That's why houses are haunted. I agree. Impossible that these same beings from hundreds of years ago that legends described in Portugal are the same ones responsible for the events at Fatima. This is the quote. Now hear this, folks. Portugal has a similar tradition which describes a race of supernatural women called Mora, Encantada, the enchantress Mora, the mother goddess. And we really drilled into this with Dr. Michael Lake, Derek Gilbert of Skywatch TV, and Carl Teicheb, all incredible researchers in their own right, great authors, and we present what they do. They came on the record in Fatima 2, and it's riveting because we talk about this goddess worship that happened in antiquity, and I believe just carried right into modernity. These women, now get this, these women were also said to be able to spin the sun, which connects intimately to the final apparition at Fatima, where thousands of witnesses watched a glowing oval of light spin through the sky. Some people looked up and saw a dull silver disc, and we report on this. We report on this. And I got to tell you, folks, this is why it's so relevant, because what happened in antiquity is now repeating itself in modernity. Also, concerning the angel here, not talking about the pasta noodles, an event a few years ago, I can personally verify. Web-like fibers all over houses and cars and covered at least 2 counties. I don't believe they were spider webs at all. Not aware of any UFO activity at that time, but a Native American prophecy says something about spider webs crossing the land. Perhaps UFO activity becomes so numerous that angel hair covers the land as a result. Chief Joseph talked about that. That's a possible interpretation. Chief Joseph Riverwind, good friend of our show, and he'll be in the up-and-coming film that I'm working on now, which I won't tell you what it's called. But it's always good to talk to Chief Joseph. He's just a great guy, and his lovely wife, Laura Lynn. So where's all this leading? It has to do with disclosure. It has to do with the UFO, the disclosure of the so-called extraterrestrial presence. And what I find alarming here, folks, is that New Age people on the other side of the aisle, channelers, like, I'm not going to mention names, but people who channel entities, and by the way, we're forbidden to do that. How do you know that what you're bringing into your life is benevolent or malevolent? You don't know. You have no idea. Test the spirits. We're told specifically not to engage in that type of activity. Never have an entity, allow any entity to come into your life. When the good guys show up, they don't do that. They don't come into someone. They don't possess someone like that. Doesn't happen that way. But the bad guys want in. They want entrance so they can manipulate you. They can take over what you do. Like in Fatima 1 and in Fatima 2, we talk about the automatic writing, that the mediums who were channeling a spirit, a malevolent spirit in my opinion, from the dark, sourcing from the dark side, they're channeling this information. The medium is writing from right to left, and there's a message which they publish in Oseculo, the magazine, saying, that's the newspaper, saying that something wondrous is going to happen on the 13th of May in 1917. And guess what? Something wondrous did. But it was part of a deception. Why should we trust anything from a medium? We shouldn't, obviously. Obviously, we shouldn't. And it was signed Stella Matutina. All this is in the film Fatima 1 and Fatima 2. Stella Matutina, the bright morning star. Another name for the dragon. Another name for the dragon. So the New Age people are waiting for the event. This paradigm shift when UFOs are going to appear and usher us into a golden age. Don't believe me? This is what they're saying. The arrest of the cabal, the global elites who want a one-world government. Well, when these guys come back, they're going to try to set up a one-world government anyway. So instead of the elites creating a one-world government, maybe the nefarious extraterrestrial entities will be creating a one-world government. I mean, either way, we lose. The reset of the financial system. And go down here, the beginning of a new financial system with prosperity funds for all humanity. Well, how's that going to work? That sounds like communism to me. And we already know from the former Soviet Union that communism is an absolute no, it doesn't work and never will. Thank you very much. But then they talk about disclosure, the release of ET information, what propels the craft, the system, the free energy, which will be given to the globe. This is what's coming. The other side of the aisle saying this, I'm waving my hands frantically for decades, literally, trying to wake up people and to make them understand that it's already here. It's already happening. The people on the bus, they're already seeing stuff. What are we to make of that? Just pretend it doesn't exist? Come on. Come on. It's here and it's happening. And I find that incredibly alarming, actually.
What happened at Fatima is now in the far distant past. Over 100 years ago, events occurred which are still the subject of debate today. However, there have been numerous apparition sites since 1917. This segment will explore more of a strange phenomenon that is occurring in modernity. We will present real footage of so-called apparitions and ask you to determine what it is you are looking at. Can we really ascertain what these indistinct images of light are? You be the judge.
And before I roll that clip, this is all from YouTube, and I gave credit. This is happening in modernity. These are some miracles and apparitions. So this is why. This is why it's so important to understand what's going on. Check this out. Knock, Ireland, 2017. Listen to the absolute hysteria of the crowd. And, I'm not attacking people's belief system. I want to make that really clear. But they're obviously witnessing something supernatural, and they don't know how to deal with it. We are told in the guidebook of a supernatural, i.e. the Bible, that we're to test the spirits. And if you don't know how to do that, maybe I'll get into that in a later show. And there's a way to test the spirits. We're told to rebuke first and ask questions later. We're told about the deception. We're told about the dragon coming with all signs and lying wonders. Are we looking at this? You hear the people? I'm going to roll it back there. Do you hear the absolute hysteria from the people? And just look at this, right? It's right there. There's an image there, but we have no idea who that is or what that is. It's an image. It's an indistinct image. Does it look like a religious figure? Yeah. And if you've got that world, oh my gosh, it might be Jesus. Oh my gosh. No, it's not. No, it's not. Not at all, in my opinion. This is Conyers, Georgia, 1990. So this happened in 2009, and I show this over a Coptic church, and it happened day after day or night after night after night. And the mayor of this, where this was happening, had all the electricity turned off, so to make sure it wasn't a hoax. And these entities appeared. Now this is what they do. This is supposed to be the baby Jesus right there, and this is supposed to be Mary. Why? Because it's got this blue thing that hangs down. That might be Joseph, and that might be an angel. We don't know. These are amorphous blobs of light. That's all they are. I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'm certainly not going to clap my hands and embrace it. We are told in Scripture, in the biblical prophetic narrative, that the dragon can appear as an angel of light. You tell me. You tell me. And what you hear is the absolute hysteria from the crowd. That's what you hear. They embrace it. And in all these clips, the crowd, it's very emotive. In some places, people are yelling, screaming, weeping. I find that alarming. This is why we made the films, Fatima 1, Fatima 2. And obviously, we're trying to get the word out. There's a book that we published. It's one of the first books I published under Spiral of Life. It's called Miracle of the Sun. And Jose Machado, who's a professor of semiotics, okay? And he had access he gained access to the sanctuary at Fatima, and he was able to handle the original glass plate. That's right there. He's able to handle the original glass plate taken 100 years ago by Joshua Benolio on the Moor of Fatima while the miracle of the sun was taking place. Here's a quick little story. I've often wondered if there was a photograph. Often wondered where there were photographers in the field. And when I saw this, in my opinion, we have a smoking gun. We have a smoking gun because we published. Jose was able to take the original photograph, and we have that in the book, and we show what is clearly a round object, a disc-like object above where the tree is, where the apparition site, let's say this is the apparition site where the three children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta are, directly above it, right here, is that disc, directly above it. And we show that not only in the film, where we've got people that talk, that sort of hold Jose's feet to the fire, but in his short little book, I wrote the foreword. Francisco Correa also wrote a second foreword to it. It's a short little book, but it's packed with information, vital information. And one of those, of course, is the eyewitness testimony of a lawyer standing in the field, looking up and seeing a dull silver disc. So one more thing, an email from a woman who was at the miracle of a sun, or not, was at a sun miracle in Conyers, Georgia, decades ago. She's standing next to her fiance. She looks up, okay? You know what she sees? She sees the sun and a religious figure, and the sun spinning. You know what he sees? They're right next to each other. He sees a UFO. Something is going on, folks. You can check out this limited offer by going to lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. And look, you know, I just thank God for our sponsors, and I don't have to monetize on YouTube with a bunch of silly ads anymore. And they demonetize it anyway. So it's no freedom of speech, by the way, no freedom of speech at all. But you can check out Fatima 1, Fatima 2. It's a great offer, and it's a limited offer, lamarzulli.net. And when you do that, you keep the lights on in the studio. And guess what? I'm working on another film, which I can't wait to start talking about, but I got to wait. And it will probably be available right before Christmas in November. Probably after Thanksgiving, we'll start talking about that. But I just want to thank you all for tuning in and making us number 4. Remember, folks, I'll see you on the air or in the air. Someone sent this to me, and I just love it. It's a little bit of humor here. But my saying is this: we go up, they come down. We go up, they show up. And we could be at a tipping point where we're going to start to see something in the not too distant future. Thanks for watching Acceleration Radio. Remember, I'll see you in the air or on the air.
What if what happened in Fatima 101 years ago was much more complex than any of us could have imagined? What if there was a fourth witness hidden away for decades, and through the detective work of researcher Fina de Armada, this witness was discovered and interviewed? In that interview, the fourth witness described seeing a being with blonde hair floating in midair above the same tree that the apparition would later appear over. What if the so-called angel hair that fell over the crowd is also reported by witnesses who have had close encounters with UFOs today? Then there is the dull silver disc, which flew over the 80,000 people gathered at Fatima, which seemed to create chaos as car windshields exploded, hoods flew open, and gasoline spontaneously combusted. What if there was a picture taken 101 years ago that lay undiscovered in the Fatima archives until one day Jose Machado had access to it? What he found may be a smoking gun. Then there are the numerous reports of apparitions and so-called sun miracles. But what are these really? Could they be harbingers of deception? This is Fatima 2, Strange Phenomenon. Watchers, a 7-year excursion that takes you on a special kind of adventure. It's about the supernatural, and people flock to it to gain awareness on forbidden subjects like UFOs. The Shroud of Turin, the Torah Codes, alien implants, the Nephilim giants, and even life after death. All these and more were why people always clamored for the next Watchers. Now, you'll get to see what many think were the best moments in the series. Excerpts of some of the greatest and most powerful true stories.
Our dog Charlie came home after being sprayed by a skunk. I tried shampooing with tomato juice and several dog shampoos, but nothing worked. I sprayed him with a new product called Jingos, and the other disappeared immediately. What an awesome product.
Go to buyjingos.com today.
Getting out for a walk in fresh air is a wonderful way to lift lethargy and tension. It's one of the simplest strategies to kickstart a healthy life. Keep moving, drink pure water, work towards a plant-based diet, and learn about supplements. They're some of the other keys towards a happy old age. In this episode, we're looking to the future and a number of developments that may help us too. A prediction that a new paradigm in healthcare is on the way. Stories of the miraculous benefits of stem cell treatments, and easing some of the problems of old age, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. All that, and we have an international megastar to tell you some of it. From Panama, a story little short of miraculous. A pilot, paralysed in a plane crash, is treated in Dr. Neil Reardon's stem cell clinic.
He was taking pain pills all day long, and he went from a 10 to a 3. He got no function back, but his neuropathic pain decreased dramatically. After his second treatment, he was able to move his left leg. After his third treatment, he was able to move his right leg. After his fourth treatment, he was able to walk. And now, here we are, I don't know how many years later, 8 years later, and he could walk into this room and you'd have no idea.
And unheard of in a spinal injury of this severity, the pilot's sexual function was restored, and he's now the proud father of twin girls. In this clinic, there are frequently uplifting stories.
One of the most shocking moments for me working at this clinic was with an autistic patient. The mom came over, and when she was leaving, she was bursting in tears because she heard her child say mom for the first time.
Hollywood movie star Mel Gibson will shortly tell us the dramatic story of his father's health turnaround after stem cell treatment. Finally, we're back to Panama to hear of more dramatic successes from stem cell therapy. We visited a clinic inside the stylish surroundings of a city hotel. The Stem Cell Institute was founded by Dr. Neil Reardon, son of nutritional medicine pioneer Hugh Reardon. Alongside his father, Neil pioneered vitamin C therapy for cancer, and he's now pioneering stem cell treatments. He's had great success with many conditions, including rheumatoid arthritis.
With rheumatoid arthritis, we see case after case after case. I just talked to a patient yesterday who came down about 6 weeks ago, and she crying on the phone. She can't believe that she's in no pain. She's had pain for 5 years. She hadn't slept through the night in 5 years. She says, "Tell me this is going to last. I can't believe this is happening. Please tell me it's going to last." And for the most part, with rheumatoid arthritis, it does last for an extended period of time.
Over the course of a year, we met Neil in Panama and at the Reardon Clinic in Wichita, Kansas, to find out as much as we can about the benefits of stem cell therapy. Tell me where you get the stem cells from that you use in these procedures.
The umbilical cord's cut, baby's taken away, and then some short time thereafter, mother delivers the afterbirth, which includes the placenta and the umbilical cord and the amnion, and all of that tissue is rich in cells, and these cells they're basically biologic garbage, and they're thrown away. So what we do is we take that tissue. You've reset the clock. These are day zero cells from a baby that was just born. They have a high degree of ability to reproduce and to secrete the three major things that we know that they do in the body. They secrete a batch of molecules that stimulate regeneration, that decrease inflammation, and modulate the immune system. So their main job in the body is to maintain the status quo. So when you're sick, you're not maintaining the status quo. When you're 70, you're not maintaining the status quo. Look at yourself, look at a picture of you 10 years ago or 20 years ago. You haven't maintained the status quo. Things are going south. And so these cells, their job is to maintain the status quo, and that's why I think they're so important for aging research and for chronic illness.
What stem cells do can seem little short of miraculous.
What I do myself and what I think is going to be ultimately the answer for a lot of age-related decline and age-related chronic diseases is taking young, healthy stem cells, for example, from umbilical cord, and using those to supplement what you have. Because not only do they do the job of the stem cells that you used to have, but they also stimulate what you have left to behave younger. So they are the reason you renew yourself. And one question I get quite often is, how can these stem cells treat so many conditions? And the simple answer to that is the root cause of most of those conditions is lack of stem cells. Either lack of stem cells or the ones you have left aren't working properly. So if the common cause is that, then it would make sense that the treatment of choice would be replacement of those stem cells with ones that are healthy and ones that are active.
There are two main kinds of stem cells. Neil uses mesenchymal stem cells, MSCs.
These MSCs are found throughout your body, so you can get them from the fat, you can get them from the bone marrow. Every organ has MSCs in it. If you have a tooth taken out, you can take MSCs from that. But the problem with those MSCs is that they're as old as you are, and a lot of our patients are advanced age. Not only just the age, but they're dysfunctional. Like if you have an autoimmune disease, and lupus has demonstrated that your MSCs are messed up, they're dysfunctional, they don't operate properly. With MS, multiple sclerosis, we know that your MSCs do not function well. With rheumatoid arthritis, we know the MSCs do not function well. So we use day zero cells or from umbilical cord. So after a live, healthy birth of a cesarean section, then we take, the baby's delivered, the umbilical cord's cut, and that umbilical cord comes to our laboratory, and we isolate the MSCs from that umbilical cord tissue, and then we grow them up. And we don't use all of them because not all umbilical cords are the same, not all MSCs are the same. So we have a screening methodology that gets, if you're making a basketball team, it's basically the LeBron James of those cells, and we have molecular screening that we can do that tells us whether these cells are good or not, and then we'll use maybe 2 or 3 out of 100, and then we use those to grow up large numbers that can be used to treat thousands of patients. If you're healthy, if you're 25 years old and fit, you won't feel a thing when you get those cells, and the actual infusion is nothing, right? The hard work is growing the right amount, the right type of cells for the right condition. But the actual infusion is just, it's a 5-minute IV. It's quicker than an intravenous vitamin C drip, And to see the transformations is quite incredible. But if you're young and healthy, your MSCs are in great shape, right? But the sicker somebody is and the older they are, they have what we would consider an MSC exhaustion condition. So the young cells, when they're in contact with the old MSCs, they actually reprogram the old MSCs to act more like young MSCs. So their turnover time is quicker. So just to give you an example, if you take MSCs from a newborn, they'll divide about every 24 hours. So you start with one cell and you let them divide in the laboratory for 30 days, you'll have 1 billion cells. So you take the same cell from a 35-year-old and it divides around every 48 hours, right? And that sounds linear, from 24 to 48, but at the end of a month you have 32,000 cells instead of 1 billion. And if you take from a 65-year-old, the average doubling time is 60 hours. And you do the math on that, at the end of a month you have 200 cells. Well, if the repair that's required requires 1,000 cells or 5,000 cells or 10,000 cells, you're always going to lose, right? If you're in that condition. So that's why at later ages, people have such a dramatic response, is because they're always deficient on the repair side. And these cells help their cells behave younger and basically do more repair. So you can summarize what the umbilical cord, what all MSCs do, but the umbilical cord being day zero cells, what they're able to do very robustly is decrease inflammation, stimulate regeneration, and also modulate the immune system, because they are the cells that modulate our immune system. They direct traffic. So if they actually do it both ways. If there's not enough immunity, they'll upregulate certain things. They're hardwired, programmed to respond to different conditions. So, and if there's too much inflammation, they'll actually produce anti-inflammatory things to shut it down. So it doesn't matter which way you are, their job is to maintain homeostasis. And so as we get older, the robustness of our cells and their capacity to do those things decreases. When you add the umbilical cord, the young cells, they reprogram the old cells to behave more young, and you get the decrease in inflammation, modulation of the immune system, and stimulate regeneration. One of the craziest things is that they donate mitochondria to damaged cells. So, the mitochondria are the energy producers of the cells, and MSCs will actually triage cells. So they'll circulate through the body, they'll triage, and they can sense whether the cell has enough mitochondria in it to survive, or if it's out of mitochondria, it'll just pass it by. If the mitochondria level is too low, it'll just say, well, too bad, you're dead, and then move on to the next cell and say, oh, well, this one has plenty of mitochondria, pass that by. Oh, this one, you know what, if I donate mitochondria into this one, it'll survive. And they literally do donate their mitochondria, and they can do it through a couple different ways, through tubules or just by shedding mitochondria that are taken up by the damaged cells. So, and if you look at many hypotheses of aging, it all has to do with mitochondrial oxidation. There's a perfect inverse correlation between lifespan and mitochondrial oxidation, right? So you take the shortest lived animal and they have the highest amount of mitochondrial oxidation, whereas in the longest lived animal, they have the lowest level of mitochondrial oxidation. Well, just imagine if you can donate mitochondria and you reset the clock to day zero, right, for mitochondrial diseases, or not mitochondrial disease. Aging is a disease is a mitochondrial disease, right? It's a depletion of your mitochondria.
Movie star Mel Gibson is a regular visitor to the Stem Cell Institute. He has treatments for a shoulder injury, and he's become an advocate of stem cell therapy. Mel's father, Hut Gibson, had his life transformed by going to Panama. His treatment pulled him back from the edge of death, aged 92. 7 years later, he's thriving.
Well, he was pretty old. He was 92, and he wasn't doing too well, and I took him to the Mayo Clinic in Arizona, and they said, "You better leave him here. He's going to be dead." And I'm like, really? So they kept him there 10 days, stabilized him, identified a number of problems, just wearing out, the kidneys, he had some congestive heart stuff and lung stuff, and various other things. His hip was, hurting. He was not ambulatory, and he was in a lot of pain and pretty listless and sick. Night, what do they call it? Night terrors, or where he wasn't quite lucid. But all this stuff was draining his energy and affecting his mind, and it was the full kind of old indignity, the 92 years of age. So I figured, if he could just get his hip under him and get moving again. And they said, well, you shouldn't really, he's pretty old to be doing an operation like that. The recovery it'll take so much for him to recover. He'll probably, that might take him out. I'm like, well, we can't do that. And then my brother said, look, why don't you try, I got this website of this like adult stem cell thing. I'm like, what adult stem cells? Yeah. So I asked a doctor friend of mine, what he thought about that. And he says, stay away from those guys. It's unproven. He's like, it's, down in Panama, it's lepers and banana boats and three-legged dogs. And I'm like, well, you're exaggerating. And it turns out that he was. But I said, look, can we talk to these guys? He said, I'll talk to them. So I got this friend of mine, Brad, who was the doctor at Mayo. And we spoke to them for an hour. And it was interesting because he asked them questions I never would have thought of. I mean, what is a mesenchymal cytokine? Out of sight, out of kind. I don't know from nothing. So he's talking, and then I asked him to translate all this, and he translates it in a pretty good way. He puts it into the sort of vernacular for me, and we're talking about it back and forth. And he says, let's call him again. And we talked to him for another hour, and we talked to Neil Reardon and Jorge. And they both talked to us on the phone, and afterwards the guy said, it doesn't sound crazy. I mean, he says it sounds kind of amazing. And he says, look at your dad, what do you got to lose? So I put him on a plane and got him down here. And, we shot him in the hip. And they thought they had to do 2 hips. So they had enough for 2 hips, but it was so much, but they put double the amount in 1 hip. And then, of course, they just dropped some into his bloodstream, like 100 million cells or something like that. So, but every ailment that this man had kind of righted itself, and pretty quickly, too. And he started walking without pain, and he became back to his lucidity, and his kidneys were okay, and his heart and his lungs, and his eyesight got better, and he even started getting little pigments in his hair and stuff. It was insane.
We were invited out to California. Mel wanted us to present, what we did to his friends. So we had a deal at the that pink hotel, the Beverly Hilton or whatever, and we had about 70 of his friends showed up, and we talked about what we did. And then afterwards, we went over to see Hut, is his name, Hutton Gibson. We went over to his house, and his nurse, I'll never forget, he has these two nurses from Central America that are stocky, tough women, and I remember the one nurse that was down in Panama with him, the whole time she was sitting like this, because she's like, this is BS, right? She's like, this is not gonna work. And when I walked into his house, she says, oh, Dr. Reardon, oh my God, look. And she says, get up, old man, show him what you can do. And so he gets out of his chair and he walks around, and then he starts moonwalking. This is a guy that was 6 months, 7 months prior they had already written his obituary. So there's an example, and he's been back. So each time that Mel thinks he's kind of slipping, he'll bring him back down for treatment, and I think he's been down a total of 4 times since then. And in August, he celebrated his 98th birthday. So there's an example of somebody who probably wouldn't have made it and had a horrible quality of life, who now has a great quality of life and likely to make it to 100. And you know, he quips, and it's just amazing the transformation that we've seen with him and frankly a lot of other people that are in their 80s and 90s.
And you know, he's almost 99 now. He's been down 3 times, and almost 99. I did it on my shoulders, and you know, cut to 2 years later, I'm doing my shoulders, and the doctor who was skeptical is there getting his knees done because he wasn't walking too well. So we're both, you know, late 50s. So, or back then we were in our late 50s. I'm a little older than that now, but it's I think it's pretty miraculous, you know, what it was able to achieve for the old man, and he's still going. 99 in August. So he got 7 years out of you know, from this stuff when, you know, they told me at the clinic, like, you know, you don't leave him here, he's going to be dead in 4 days.
Did I hear a rumor that he actually demonstrated a moonwalk on his subsequent birthday?
Oh no, he was fooling around. He was like, he was pushing the nurse in the wheelchair and doing all. He was goofing off. He got a big kick out of that. He got pretty. He got a lot back. So the quality of his life picked up tremendously. And of course he's 99, so it's, you know, he gets up, he still walks a little and gets around a little, and he can still give you a dissertation on the ancient Romans and stuff. So, you know, it's all working, so that's pretty cool.
Well, you've explained the physiology pretty well to someone who doesn't understand biology or anything like that. You've explained that to me really well, but it's still hard not to call it miraculous, that and other stories you've told me.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
It is, and it's completely natural. You know, it's not. I don't view what we're doing as anything spectacular. I view what we're doing as augmenting the natural response, the natural repair processes in the body in people who, for age or for lifestyle or for bad luck, have cells, the MSCs, that don't work properly or they don't have enough of them, and all we're doing is supplementing something they're missing. It's as simple as that.
And no negatives, no side effects, all positive?
Side effects, yes, but good ones. I haven't seen any negative ones, all right? And I did it myself with the shoulders. You know, I couldn't, you know, flap my wings for 3 days but they don't give you an anesthetic. I mean, they just put you there. I said, "This is gonna hurt?" And he says, "Only when the needle comes out the other side." You know, he's just kidding around, but they shoved the needle in the bursa and hit me with some cells, and I had torn labrums and arthritis and bone spurs and all kinds of, couldn't sleep with the pain, but I haven't had a problem in 3 years.
Mel Gibson is one of many celebrities using the Stem Cell Institute, but Neil emphasises that his big-name patients are in the minority.
Now, yesterday Mel Gibson talked to us. He told us about his father and how significantly his father improved. And Mel himself said he had stem cells for his shoulder problems and neck problems. And I know, I'm aware you treat many other celebrities and well-known people. It would almost possibly give the impression that this is something for the rich. But you tell me that is definitely not the case.
Yeah, well, the vast majority of our clients are not wealthy by any means. They come here because they have nothing else, you know, and yeah, the treatment is, I would say, is expensive relative to other things. Relative to medicine in the United States, it's bargain basement, in my opinion. You know, I had knee surgery maybe 4 years ago. I was in the operating room for 45 minutes. My insurance, the bill to my insurance company was $29,000. I was in the hospital for 2.5 hours. So I think we only have one treatment, which is more than that, and that's for spinal cord injury, and they're here for 4 weeks, and they receive 18 infusions, and they go to physical therapy every day, and that includes their hotel. So I think, given given what all that's done relative to medicine in the United States is very inexpensive. To the average family, it is certainly expensive. I look back, and we have some young parents that come down here, and I look back at where I was financially at that stage in my life, and there was no way I couldn't afford to go out to dinner more than once a month. So, it's not for the masses yet, but the first digital watch cost $1,200, and now they're 10. So, and they're way better. And I think having more people in this and doing more, we make strides every year on manufacturing costs and technological breakthroughs that allow us to grow many more cells at a lot lower cost. And then of course, the more people that do it, the smaller the margins have to be. But to specifically answer your question, I think our VIP, superstar, super wealthy population is less than 5% of our patient population.
And just a final one, no ethical or moral questions, because I think people still remember the early days of stem cells when they were taken from fetuses and things like that.
Yeah, well, you're talking about embryonic stem cells, which is, and I've talked to a lot of doctors about this. I've become quite versed in it. And embryonic stem cells have nothing but strange anomalies, and like where you grow teeth on your shoulder and so. I mean, it's very weird. And but they actually don't work, and they produce a freak show. Whereas adult stem cells, and technically mesenchymal stem cells from an umbilical cord, are adult stem cells, and morally there's no stigma, or there's not even a debate, because the kid's off somewhere sucking a rattle, he's fine, so it's like, it's all good.
Some fascinating insights there. But let me remind you again of the basics that all our experts agree on. We need to drink pure water, get some movement and exercise into our daily routine, work towards that plant-based diet, and see what supplements might be of benefit to us. Stay with us for the next episode.